Hi everybody. Sometimes I create a controller, a simple controller, but I really don't have the patience to draw its view. I want to show, for example, the product ID, name, and a supplier, but I don't really want to go and draw the screen itself. Well, for that there are some excellent utility classes in ENV UI. The first one of which is called ENV UI GridView. ENV UI GridView. And what it actually does for us is it allows us to create a simple grid view for our screen without any designing. I can tell it that I want to show the product ID, product's name, and supplier ID, just like that, by sending them as parameters to the constructor of the grid view method. Let's run this and see what we get. So here we are. We got a simple grid containing the products with the ID, product name, and supplier ID. That's simple. Just one line of code created that UI for us, and we can actually delete the show products and the folder views here because we don't need them anymore. So what did we do? We simply replaced the new views show product, the specific view, with the general grid view. Now we also have a similar one which is called FormView that does what you might imagine it would do, is do the same thing for a form. Let's run that. And now we see the data on the form. So the same API can be used either to create a grid view or a form view. All we need to do is change the class we're using from grid view to form view. Now, it can actually be more sophisticated than that. But before we do that, let's turn this single line lambda into a multi-line lambda. Okay, just to follow up on what does this do. It sets the view with a lambda that returns the form. So let's go ahead and create a multi-line lambda because I want to put some more logic here. So I'm going to wrap this with curly brackets and semicolon. This is the first stage, first step. And the second stage is var result equals and return result. Okay, so in this simple few lines of code, we've changed the single line lambda to a multi-line lambda. That you can see does basically the same, just in a few more lines of code that we're going to use in a second to do something cool. So use multi-line lambda. Now that we do that, we can actually add functionality to the view. So we can say, for example, add an action, and I can say do something, and send it an action of what do I want it to do. In this case, I want it to display a message box saying test. Great. Let's run that. So now we have the screen, we have the button do something, and when we click on it, it shows us the message. So what did we have to do to that? Just call the add action method, send it a name, and what do we want it to do. Okay, you can see the code over here, we replaced it like this. Cool. And of course the same will also work for a grid view. If we run it with a grid view and run the code, we'll see that we have right click and do something. And this is actually the code we use for the entity browser or for most of the UIs that you'll get with the migrated code, the automatic UIs. And let's take it even one step further. So here we've done show a grid view, but we can also control the type of controls that will be used. We can say, for example, result add checkbox for products.discontinued. And as you can imagine, it will add a checkbox that we can check, and it will also work in FormView. We can also replace the supplier that we've added so far with add combo box of supplier. And this combo box actually can get an entity to show me the information of the supplier, which is the source of the combo. So let's define the supplier entity. And we'll send here the entity. The next parameter is the value column. So it's supplier ID. The next one is the display column dot a company name. And of course, there's an order by and a where and values and display values. We can use whatever we want over there. And when we run this, we'll get a more sophisticated UI with a combo box, with the checkbox. And this, of course, also will work in the form view. with the checkbox and the combo box. So as you can see, these two utility classes, FormView and GridView, can make it easy to create screens that are useful both in development, but you can actually adjust them to be correctly done in runtime. So you can actually use this instead of creating screens in your application. The code for FormView is 180 lines of code, and for GridView is also similar in size. And we specifically separated them from other classes so you can easily maintain them and change them to match your needs. And we strongly encourage you to do so, because in many times, many of the screens that you create are just repetitive based on some kind of standard. And if you can encapsulate the standard into just a few lines of code, you won't have to design so many screens and you will develop a lot faster. So I hope you like this. We'll also post the source code of GridView and FormView to our documentation website if anyone wants to use it who's using older versions of Firefly. And do great things with this.